Hello, guys. Welcome to Transcendental Waves. I'm Michael Burrows.
And I'm Jeff Bailey. You know, Michael, all the little different quantum physics videos we watch and then different psychological things we watch or read and stuff, it really has me thinking about like what is reality. I've always kind of thought of it in like levels of like what it, people's individual subjective reality, a group's collective reality, and then objective reality, the reality, usually like, a reality that most of us in the three dimensions don't ever really see. But to me, what like what is our reality built up of? Like what do you think of when somebody asks you that?
Well, when I was younger, I used to think of the same thing. There's my own individual reality, and then there's, I guess, a group or universal reality. And I kind of considered more like there was an internal reality of my mental and psychological things, spiritual, and then like a physical reality of the world. And then I learned about quantum physics. And and that's when I learned that nothing's a matter. Like nothing's matter. It's all just energy and waves. And then if everything's just energy and waves, that just means there's a connective force between everything. And so then my reality just really changed to me being a oneness with a universal thing and me just being a part of the universe, kind of like a plant is a part of the earth. Then I started in quantum physics, we got these new scientists, thinking about maybe Earth is just a hologram or a shadow or a reflection of a higher dimension or power. And then I became a 32nd degree Freemason, and they said that same exact shit in those things.
As I said, the whole like the Matrix type thing where everybody is talking about we're like in this like light hologram. Like I mean, that's been the thing that where it's just like quantum physics really does make it seem like we're just in this like soup of energy and like different forces or whatever divide us up and make us, we see the world in three dimensions, but who knows, there, I think it's like 11 or 15 dimensions or something now that like quantum physics has like theorized.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and if you look into like the way like, fractal shapes compound from going just from three dimensions to four dimensions, and then they have like these 8 dimensional crystals, and like we're just a quasi crystal like shape coming off of these things. Really, man, it's like it's hard to like explain to me in scientific forms, and then like I mean, to me, this is weird, but it reminds me a lot of like different like psychedelic like visual like vision quests or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reason like these like the way this like hologram stacks up on itself to make pictures for us to understand, and like as above so below, like it's the same thing, like we're just like fractals in a bigger reality that we don't comprehend either, like the same way we would think that like ants or whatever don't see the earth the same way we perceive the earth.
I swear that's probably how like mystics and like Hindus and yogas, like all these mystical spiritual people, I think they feel the same way. And I think that's kind of the goal of us is to find that out and become one with the universe. At least that's what I've been doing the past few years, and it's been the best time of my life. I've never felt so in love with myself and with everyone else and with everything.
I will say the oneness, like that was like when I was like trying to figure out the what is reality, and I still look at like I mean I understand when we talk about like perception is reality, and some people will say like, well, whatever all this quantum physics says, like we still have to live on this world, and so like I do believe in like we all have our own like our personal truth, our subjective reality, what we think, like what we build inside our head is the world around us, and then little cultural norms that is like societal, like the collective reality, and then
So I guess for me, I read all this stuff about quantum physics and everything, and that gave me the knowledge, you know. Then I did this Native American experience where there was this frog DMT. And when I did that, I became one with everything, all the light, the energy, the infinite awareness, time. And it's almost like in that I just watched the Lego movie this weekend. And when that dumb Lego guy touched this thing, the universe just flashed like from every little big spot that ever happened in history, and then he became enlightened with like the knowledge of the universe. So that is almost like a DMT experience.
oh yeah, that's like the what I mean when you like when you go into the DMT experience and you see all the building blocks of everything and you can understand like
And then that confirms everything that you read about, you know. So not only have I studied it, then I experienced it, and now it's just like the science is backing it up too.
that's the crazy thing. I mean, they like don't get me wrong when I'm watching these quantum physics videos and stuff, it's not like they're showing some math formulas that I'll never know how to do. It's crazy. But when they're trying to tell you in layman terms what it means about how, like, these different tiny crystals of light connect to each other to build atoms and particles and stuff like that, and, like, it's,
Dude, and now they're making crystals out of time. I mean, there's things called time crystals.
yeah, I mean, these little like the particle accelerators where they're creating little mini universes
Yeah,
inside of
yeah.
tubes and stuff. I mean, there's like, I mean, the studies, it's pretty crazy, and like we're basically living in a giant like energy clock, like, and everything has to fit perfectly together. There is no empty space. There's, I mean, it's it's a crazy concept to think of, and I mean,
Dude, we are at the time where the Newtonian laws of and relativity laws are meeting with quantum physics, and they're going to merge very soon. I mean, that's like the next big thing is fixing
yeah, I
to
mean, they're
happen.
talking about like string theory. I mean, has been trying to do it for a long time. The theory, like
Quantum gravity
quantum
theory.
gravity, and they're like the phonons are now a thing where like
Yeah.
before like that they're apparently able to measure negative mass, which is a thing that was thought impossible just a few years ago. So like it's just, I mean, we're filling in all the blank spots of like quote unquote mysticism and like magical experiences, and to me like it doesn't make it any less magical, to be honest. Like we're living inside this giant clockwork machine that is very fluid, like the like not a machine in the sense like the rigidity that we would think of robots. Like these things are constantly evolving and adapting. It's a living organism that's just like the
Yeah.
universe is growing and adapting and evolving right in front of our eyes. We just see such a tiny spot of it. It's crazy.
Yep. And then you get some people who just are never going to see. They're never going to understand. And
Well, I guess that's what I mean, why I started this whole conversation about like what is reality, because we talk about like, you know, what it really like we can explain all this to people and they'll be like, "Yeah, but what does that matter? We're still here." And like the fact of the matter is that like it kind of helps explain some of the miracles throughout time and some of these different like I mean, it can help rewrite religion and change the way I mean people think about each other, about how
it's going to change humanity,
right,
in
about how connected everything is and how responsible we are for our world around us directly. Like we could be creating a heaven on earth right now. We have all the resources available to us, and our like when I guess collective consciousness, collective reality, whatever you want to call it, but we have such divided thought processes on this planet. That's the reason why there's so much war and chaos and stuff. And like I mean, just these little things like, you know, science proving that people aren't that are different races aren't just genetically smarter or superior or whatever at one point in time was like, oh yeah, duh. But like, I mean, there was at one point in time where people just saw somebody of a different color and was like, yeah, well, we're superior to them. And I mean, that's slowly going away. And a lot of this quantum physics stuff is kind of like, it's almost proving that God exists with, but proving that none of the gods that we've created are the ones that do exist. Like we're in such a perfect machine. There's so much perfect order to the universe that like there almost feels like there has to be some sort of creation energy or whatever you want to call it. But it's also so much bigger than any one dude in the sky. Like
Yeah, man. It's almost like I think a lot of smart people have these type of epiphanies. So a lot of people will start off believing in a faith that they're brought up to, like Christianity. And then you find out that that is a false religion. It's fake. It's made up. And then you just want to go straight atheist and you're like, no, God's fake. I don't believe in God no more, because you've had so many lies and you've been, traumatized and whatever. But then if you keep studying and learning, and especially keeping up with all this new age science and stuff, you're like, okay, it's almost impossible not to believe there is a God or a supreme being. It's just not all that crap I've been told when I was a kid. It's not like Santa Claus. It's almost like Santa Claus. It's like Santa Claus is real until you know he's fake. But then after he's fake, I mean, you're still getting presents, right? Life's still going on. It's actually better.
yeah, and you realize what the true meaning of Christmas is to be nice to each other, the Christmas spirit or whatever,
Hmm.
like that part of the year is just like people are just like randomly nice to each other for the hell of it. And it's just like, well, why don't we just do that all the time? Why did we invent a fake holiday to be nice to each other? And like then you're just like,
Well, then you realize why we invented
yeah,
that
yeah,
holiday.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you break it down. But that is like the nature of our reality, I guess. That's what I'm saying. Like we just have created these stories and collectively like we're moving towards like we can create a new story basically. I mean, we can create our own.
That's right. We should all be creating our own story. But how many times do our parents, our friends, our mentors, when we're a kid, they try to steer us in a direction of someone else's story, their story. Um,
Well, they just try to keep us like I think it's just like a like we're all building that collective reality together and anytime somebody like our collective reality now is one of servitude and I mean basically like feudalism, capitalism is the same thing to me. Like it's just like we're working for somebody else to make money, and we're always like we're very worried about hoarding resources. We're not nurturers of the planet. We are consumers. We are just giant consumers. That is our collective reality. And anytime, like when we're growing up, if like kids, I think just are naturally like, I mean, we're narcissists to a point. We're very selfish as kids, but we don't see the same divisions that we've created as the adults as children. Like when we are in a good mood and not in a tantrum or whatever as a kid, we will play with any other kid. It doesn't matter what they look like unless we've been taught by our parents to not like something. I mean, that's just I mean, so like it's all about like socializing and building that collective reality when kids step out of line and we do something that we think will get them in trouble later on in life like we just
yeah, so many
destroy it.
times these parents want to protect their kids, and yet when these kids grow up and become adults, they need therapy to unlearn all the crap that their parents taught them.
All the things they were protected from
Yep.
really just shut down creative thought
Oh
or
yeah.
yeah like thinking that they were the right type of this or the whole good enough thing when all that time like there's I don't know man I guess that's the thing like I've had that conversation about like discipline and punishment and rewarding children. It's just like it's not about like training an animal to me like I just think that like we're trying to teach people how to regulate when they're not getting what they want and basically not letting the things they want own them. Like and I mean when you're a kid, you're selfish and you only see what you want. Like I mean it's just like I mean I think that most adults still do that.
Dude, how many realities have you had that have you've had to grieve a loss from? Like me,
Oh yeah, we're
I
just
used to be a Christian, and when you find out that it's not real, like you've been taught, I mean, it's not easy, and it's kind of sucks because then you start questioning yourself. Um, that was probably one of the hardest things about learning the truth was then questioning the truth. Like, shit, everyone else I know thinks differently. Does that make me crazy? But then you just realize, then you start doing more research, and you're like, oh, it's just a geographical area. Then you reach out to some of your, your other friends, and they're like, oh yeah, I think that too, dude. And then you join the Freemasons, and you find out that there's lots of people that believe the same stuff you do.
Oh yeah, I mean, I guess that's where I talk about like that's why I like to talk about the different levels of reality for me, where it's just like everybody can have their own like we all only see through our own eyes, so we can have that's our like subjective reality, and then when we step into groups, we start creating this collective reality, and like not everyone, most people don't ever want to, but some people touch the objective reality, the truth, and yeah, like you can come back and try to
Dude, I know what you're
explain it.
saying. I was just telling someone else the other day that I love putting on masks.
Yeah.
Every time I put on a mask, I get to experience a different reality. And it's like, I want to experience all the realities that I can. And every time you do, it builds yours and it builds the collective one more.
I mean, yeah, that's the whole thing. And, like, I mean, psychedelics, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. But, like, when you touch a piece of the objective reality and you see truth, whether, like, I have a hard time translating it into English for other people to like you said like you're like well most people don't think like me so am I crazy because then you start trying to explain it to these people like the way you see the world and how we're all one and we're all connected by this force of energy and like we can feed each other's energy and grow this energy, or we can constantly struggle with each other and fight over energy. And then that's why we have limited resources. As long as we're fighting, we're never going to have an unlimited resources. But if we work together, then we do nothing but create
That's the only
unlimited.
way.
Yeah. So like, and it's just like you sound like a crazy hippie communist, and you're just like, all right, I'm just trying to tell you that like we don't have to fight and kill each other, but
But I'm the bad guy,
yeah,
right?
but
Like
I
I'm
guess
the
I'm the
crazy.
crazy bad guy. Like you just keep fighting and killing each other and thinking that's the way we're meant to live on this planet. Like I guess that I'll be the crazy bad guy. I
Yeah.
had that conversation with somebody the other day about how like I refuse to be a good guy in a society that I don't agree with. Like I would rather be an outcast in a society that I think is destroying the world. Like I mean, I like I'm okay with that. Like
And it used to be only a few people thought that, but now more and more people are waking up to that. That we are crazy. The society is crazy
yeah, the
in
society's
America.
crazy. I'm not. Yeah, like that's exactly how I eventually came to think about it. Is like I'm not the crazy one. Like the society around me is crazy for thinking that the way we treat people that aren't like us is normal. Like we're more animals than most animals. Most animals will ignore other animals unless resources are running out, and like we fabricate shortages in order to kill each other. Like we could just leave each other alone mostly. Like I mean, but we have to have. We need all the resources that Africa has, and we need all the resources that Eastern Europe has, and so like we just are like, yep, we'll just go create wars there and take their resources and just create bad guys. Like I mean, in order to do
We
it.
do. We create bad guys and we create good guys, and we just move them around like little pawns. Our government does, and we're just one of those little pawns too. But people like me and you, we're not even. We don't. We're stupid pawns. We ain't nothing.
Well, no, like I mean, you talk about like I mean, what is reality? Winners write the history books. Like it's not like they went after somebody wiped out a civilization after a war, they went and took an interview on both sides and then wrote up the history books for it. Like, no, the person that won wrote the books. That's the whole reason we got it. Hell, Christianity is a great example of that. Every war they won, they were burning down libraries to make sure theirs was the only story that was left over. Like, not even just their story of the battle, their story of history in general. Like, they didn't want anything to go back. Like, they wiped out religions, wiped out entire there are places we will never learn about because of Christianity. They're not the only ones. This is a thing that society's done throughout history. Like you win the war, you rape and pillage and destroy all the kill all the men, enslave or kill all the men, and then take all the women as wives and start creating a new society. Like, I mean, that's just how history worked for a very long time. I mean, our reality now is like very soft and pampered throughout most of the world, but it's like, I mean, we have, I mean, we almost have less freedom than they did in the like medieval times during the like actual dark ages. Like,
Man, I'm just so glad we have the internet. Oh my God. I was born at the right time.
yeah.
If we didn't have the internet, I would be a retard.
Yeah, man, it has been a huge resource. I mean, this is like this is why I think that like we are actually entering. I'm talking about the dark ages, but I think we're entering the new age of enlightenment. The internet is helping information move so rapidly that like, I mean, us dumb pawns are starting to get to see the man behind the curtain. The Wizard of Oz is like, it's we're
Dude,
seeing what's operating it.
just think, we were born out in like middle of Redneckville in bumfuck place. What are the chances, before our age, of two people like us ever finding out the reality?
Well, I think that like I mean, we talk about being upset that no one told us this stuff before we had to figure it out on our own. But I think that being a product of the age of the internet, like most people didn't even know that they needed to be looking for this stuff because brainwashing
Right.
people so easy.
It
I
was
mean,
right.
you have a kid, like we look at we teaching our kids how to do stuff. Our kids would believe anything we told them. They we look, you know, my little girl calls me her superhero sometimes, and it's just like that is like it's one of those things where it's just like they believe anything that and up until this information was just like pew 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 pew, just going across everywhere.
Nobody questioned it.
Julian Assange's didn't exist, the Edward
Hmm.
Snowden's didn't exist. Like this is all stuff that's happened in our lifetime. Joe Rogan, Russell Brand, all these people coming out just being like, your government's trying to kill you. Like that is like
It
a
used to
new
just be
thing.
the old hippies or the old
Yeah,
Vietnam
and even
vets.
and even those people, it was easy enough for our governments to be like, that's just the crazy people. If they throw enough money in any direction, they can make those people look crazy. But
Yes.
now it's just like it's
The-
like the pipes are busting all over the
right.
place,
It's
and they
harder to
can't plug
control
it
the
up fast
narrative.
enough. Yeah, they can't plug it up fast enough. It's just going. Everything's getting out too fast, and like some of the rules that luckily because we are American and we started this country with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, that like we have some stuff where like after so many years declassified stuff has to come out, and you're watching our government scramble to keep a lot of stuff hidden, and like or just like throw other puff stories out in front of you to distract you and get some of this stuff out of the way as fast as possible. I mean, I think that I mean, to be honest, like if you look around the world and they don't show us much of the world's news because they want us to live inside our own bubble, but like there's places all over the world where like all these protests and many quote unquote revolutions, whatever you want to call it, have already started.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
America's lagging behind. We're catching up.
Y'all, we are being sheltered from what real news stories are going on in other countries. It is almost like the Hunger Games, them trying to like not show us what other places are doing. So we have our normal, but our normal is very fastly changing.
Yeah, and I mean, really, like I mean, I'm of the opinion that like all the revolutions that are happening in these European countries, France, Germany, and in the Netherlands, as well as India, Sri Lanka. This is like all over the world. These farmers are protesting, and and truckers, and like it is the type of revolution I think we need right now. Like a very peaceful. Nobody is shooting. Nobody's got guns. They're basically just, I mean,
Yeah, protest.
protesting, refusing their services. They farmers, truckers, like blue collar workers keep these countries operating, and they're tired of being regulated into the poorhouse and not being allowed to like run their businesses the way they want to. I mean, and
Yep. That's
you know,
right. And
time for the rest of us to wake up, really.
yep. Time to wake up and see reality.
Yep. Keep coming back here, guys. Share the conversation. Help us change the reality that we live in right now.
Let us know what some of your favorite realities are that you've seen and experienced or escaped from.
Like, comment, subscribe. We love you guys. Peace.